Ladies and gentlemen, it is with the most incredible amount of pleasure and honor that I get to welcome my sister back to the show. Now, as we just started recording, she doesn't really remember when she was back on the show. You know why? Because it was one of our first 10 episodes. It was literally when I started Guiding Gigs that this sister walked into my life and walked into the Guiding Gigs, the community that didn't really exist. And I'm going to get to all of that. But first, I want you to experience the light, the joy, the amazing spirit that is Chantae Cann, my sister. Welcome to the Guiding Gig Show. How are you?
OMG, I am doing very, very well. It is so amazing to be here. Thank you so much for having me back. I do know we were kind of chatting about the last time we were here in these Guiding Gigs streets. And it was a long time ago, and I had to remember some things because it was over.
I went down the mental playlist for myself, just the timeline, just to try to figure this out. Okay, so these are the things that were happening. This is what's happened since you've been on the show. Okay, Barack Obama was still president. like it was. I know, right? Like I think it was 16 or 17. No, yeah, right. I was 16. I don't know what. Yeah, right at that election time, right? So
wow,
it was back then. It was pre-COVID, pre-everything. So we have had so much life. We've had so much life happen, both in your life and my life, and yet what the key is that we still have the same heart for relationship, the same heart for music. Absolutely. You have always been. Now, thank God we have been able to perform together since then, which is one of my joys. Now, it's been a few years now, so I've been fiending, and I've just been living on Spotify and Tidal, to get my Chantae fix. But no, this is real. This is real. This is a relationship you've always been. Absolutely. I mentioned light. It's not just one of those phrases. You hear it. I hope you hear it all the time from your album, Soul Empowered, from everything. Light just comes out of it. So let's introduce you first. We can do like the friend zone, like as connecting forever, but we got to let people who don't know you get to know you. So for those who just meeting you for the first time, I know this is hard. The 30 seconds, learn all about you, right? But what do you want people to know about you the first time they meet you? The things that, immediately you want to stand out if they don't remember anything else.
I have a very hard time answering questions like that.
I know. I give you the hard questions first so we can just make it easy on the way out.
I mean, other than the obvious, but what is obvious? What is not obvious? You know what I'm saying? What's the definition of that? Okay, ADHD, be my superpower right now in the name.
Yes.
Here we go. What do I want them to know? I want them to know that, so I consider myself to be a jazz soul artist that is kind of influenced by world music, hip hop, of course, gospel. I really, honestly, what you said, like it is my goal to be a light wherever I go. It is my goal to be an encourager wherever I go. It is my goal to kind of just leave a lasting impact, whether it's through my music, whether it's through conversation, whether it's through just, my own personal devotion or prayer time. I'm here to walk in that purpose.
That is my goal. You did good. See, I think you were worried from the get-go that, oh my gosh, I gotta put all this in this little container in a box, and none of us want to be in the box, right? But you don't fit in the box. Let's go first to that part when you started with the jazz and soul. Let's nerd out on the music stuff first, right?
Okay.
So ever since you started, and I'm going to allude people to the bonus episode again. It was so far back, I'm going to have to post a link for it because it was literally at the beginning. But it was a bonus episode that came out right before you released Soul Empowered. So your journey to Golden Album, your time as a BGV with India.Aire, all of that, like we kind of touched on it, but we couldn't even get into that back then. So give me just some of the history of how you started to, what was the genre that caught your attention first, as whether it was church, whether it was hearing a certain artist? Like, who were your first few inspirations? And I know that's another hard question, but just give me a couple of the people that like started to make you feel like, I want to do this, I want to sing like this, or I want to make music that sounds like this.
Okay, so quiet as kept. I can remember having an affinity for harmonies at a very, very young age. I would like lock myself in my room and listen to artists such as Take Six. I would listen to a lot of Bobby McFerrin. I would listen to a lot of classical music, honestly, because my mom was a music teacher. So she had every type of genre. My dad, who was also a music connoisseur, kind of he exposed me to all genres all across the globe. So he has everything from Mississippi Mass Choir to Tupac to Incognito. My dad is very well versed. If you would just look at him, you would not be like, okay, this man just listens to all the other things. But so that kind of that exposure combined with the raw talent of my mom, who also was a saxophone player. She played in the Philharmonic Jazz Society at Clark College when she went there back in the day. So she got to go on tour and open for artists like Dizzy Gillespie. And she got to go all over across the world, Switzerland, doing all these Montreux jazz festivals. So it was innate, kind of in the DNA when it came to both of my parents. And then my mom was the music teacher at the school that I went to. And so I
did not know that. Wow. Okay, so we have that in common. Hilarious. My mom was also my music teacher for a few years. Exactly. So yes, that is both the best and the worst, because you can't get away with anything.
I was just like, man, I was either the second teacher, or I was getting in trouble because my mom demanded more of me, and she knew that I, had a knack for it, and like affinity for it, and a desire for it, and intelligence for it. So I couldn't just like mess around and be like, yeah, I'm tired of this. But the funny thing is, I actually really enjoyed it. Like, not a lot of people used to ask me, like, how was it having your mom as a teacher? Now, granted, when she wasn't teaching, I was getting on her nerves. She was getting on my nerves just like any other parent. And she did embarrass me a couple times because the period of time that she taught me was from like kindergarten through 8th grade.
Wow.
Yes. So those were kind of some crazy years. And I remember one time I had these glasses that I did not want to wear. I did not want to put them on, but I needed them to see. And there were these pink plastic glasses that I hated. I thought they were so ugly in 3rd grade. And I remember her telling the class, like, well, we were getting ready to start class, right? And so everybody's like, okay, why are we starting class? And then my mom was like, class, I want you to tell Chantae to put on her glasses because we're not going to start the class until she puts them on.
Lord, she sold you. Oh my God. The entire class is
and everybody like, Chantae, put on your glasses.
Oh, I would love to be a fly on the wall when you got home that night. Oh my gosh, that would
so mad. Like you had to had to go. Yeah, so there weren't too many other instances other than that kind of was like, so since then we got along.
Oh, that's so beautiful. But no, I love this. I mean, family clearly meant a lot to you, right? Because it gave you that musical direction and they were there for you. Now, when you talk about that, because I see this, again, it's so hard for me not to skip ahead, right? Because I want to just skip ahead because I see all this in you. It all makes perfect sense, right? When I see your personality, I know your personality, but again, we got to open up a little bit, one layer at a time for people who just now say, wait, okay, so maybe they have been exposed to you just musically. So tell me, I know something you told me, even when it came to church and fitting in at our last interview. I remember you talked about your voice and how people kind of try maybe to keep you in a box there, but meanwhile, your voice is your voice. Your personality is your personality. So tell me, I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit to put the professional side, because I mean, obviously it's not easy to talk about elementary and middle and high school, but like what point did it become like professional, and was it a struggle at all? Because you got this great musical education, but now you got to apply it to I don't know, was it the first gig that you started? What was the thing that was like, oh, now I got to start acting or changing what I do from being a student to being in this, music industry? What was that like?
Hmm. And guess what? You never quite stop being a student. I'm still a student right now.
That's a
You know what I'm
great
saying?
point. Great point.
At least I feel that way. I feel like there's some other thing that I'm always learning, whether it's music related or not. There's something that is impacting my artistry as a whole. And so I really appreciate the gift of that. I'll say, what was the moment that I had to put everything, like put the pedal to the metal and like literally step out. Past my fear, past my anxiety, which I had a lot of. I didn't know what the word was until much later in my adult years. I'm like, oh yeah, that's absolutely anxiety. And so, excuse me. So basically, I will say when I was singing in church at this one particular church. I joined the youth group in about maybe 10th grade or so. And I went to this place and I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. The youth pastor was awesome. He was crazy. He was saying all these things that would just really relate to the kids our age, and nobody else was really, really relating to them that I saw. So I wanted to go more. And so um, one of one of my friends went with me, and she ended up like telling on me that I could sing.
Oh boy.
Um, Now, granted, still introverted. I mean, not, I mean, shy as I don't know, as all get out. Like, I literally had to go in people's, I would go inside people's pantries and like get myself together and then come out and sing. So, at that point, when they told the person over the praise team that I could sing, I was just like, man, why did you do that? And so the lady made me sing for her. And then she made me do these harmonies and I repeated them like verbatim back to her specifically. And she was like, oh, okay, you can sing. And I was like, okay, guess so. And so then she was like, I want you to sing this. And I was like, okay. So being scared out of my mind in that environment. And also, there were times in that environment where, the hard churchy singing that we do every single day, because this particular place, we were there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday,
Lord.
Wednesday, and if there's a special event, Friday, Saturday, back at Sunday, and a lot of hard singing. So I did notice myself getting hoarse a lot. I noticed like, hey, this is all fun and games, and yes, I'm expressing myself to the Lord. But also I'm hurt over here. Like I can't be sounding like a chain smoker. I'm only 15. So I'm like, okay, there something has to happen. So then through the fighting, of singing, which I really enjoyed, but I started to find different textures of my voice and started like working on using that a bit more and working on expressing myself with those tones and textures. And I knew the difference between what felt good and what didn't feel good, what felt
Okay.
safe and what didn't feel safe for my vocals. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I don't necessarily have to do all this hoopla over here. There's a time and a place for it, but for my voice type, it's not helping me, I don't think. So I found this safe space. I found sort of my own voice, and it began to be cultivated. And I have to shout out the lady that made me do all this, because her name is Demetria Doc.
Yes.
Shout out to Mimi, because she ended up being one of my big sisters and literally one of my vocal coaches to this day. And I really appreciate her because she took me under her wing and cultivated me from a creative standpoint, from a like artist development standpoint. Like she made me less afraid. She kind of gave me the courage to just get out there and do stuff. And yeah, let alone all the like vocal acrobatics that she is well and able to do. So I was just like, wow, this is cool. So during that transition, I started to kind of sing at open mics
Okay.
because at church, was one thing. And I did notice people kind of giving this heartfelt gratitude, and like, or they were expressing like admiration for what I was bringing to the table. And I was just like, wow, that's okay. Are you sure? Because I was just expressing myself to God the best way I knew how, and to have people like connect with it and say that they're moved or they're inspired or that they're, they feel a sense of healing or they feel God through what I'm singing. That right there, I was like, wow, okay. Like that was the utmost like a compliment in that arena. And so that kind of gave me the curiosity and the courage to go do open mics. And it was there that I kind of branched into my more improvisational skills and like the musical shedding and all of the things that I was scared to do or was sheltered from in the church. I was able to kind of see and still be used in those arenas. Ooh. And so
yeah, because the word you just used
I may be going too fast.
No, but I want to stop because as soon as you said used, you and I and everybody that's listening that knows what that word really means in that environment, because you're switching from church to open mics, and you're switching, and you just said improvisation. And I wanted to catch another word you said before I got too far and I forgot. You said sheltered by the church in the improvisation. And that's why I thought it was really important, especially to this audience, to people who know what it's like to live in both worlds, right? That you weren't ever saying the church wasn't a good place for your creativity. You literally just said you developed yourself there, but also within that, because you need to change, you got a meter there to help you like start to figure out what your voice was really capable of. And then I think it's like as a both and, I guess, is what I'm seeing in your development. It wasn't church. Oh, and then I threw away everything from church so I could go do my thing and learn to be a professional singer, a professional artist. You brought both to the table, and that's why I stopped you when you said used, because God was still in it when you went to the club, right? Like he was still. That's why it's like see, that's why I want people always to catch, like there isn't like this dividing line where she stopped thinking, you know what I mean, and then started doing it in terms of gigs. It's like, no, it's the same process. You just got even more freedom to understand like what your voice and your musicality was going to become through that process.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that back up, because that was a very defining moment in my life, like figuring out like, hey, like there might be something for me in both worlds. It's not either or, it's both and. And there was a time when I was first developing my relationship with God, like in my teenage years. And I was like, yeah, God, I'm only going to sing for you. And I'm only going to, sing gospel songs. And I'm only going to blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, whatever you want me to do, I'm there, sold out, Lord. And I'm actually glad I said that, because that allowed, even though I said I'm only going to sing gospel music and I'm only going to sing, for you, at the end of that, I still said, I want to do what you want me to do. And so he then later on showed me that where he has me is going to be in both places. And one is not more important than the other. They're both very, very necessary. Obviously, my spiritual foundation is the foundation. My relationship with God is the foundation out of everything. But they are going to be both very necessary for what he's called me to do. And when I was singing at I did a show at Sugar Hill years and years and years ago. This was like when I was first starting to realize like the gift that was within me. Like I was still figuring out for my own self. Like it was surprising me sometimes. And I was like, oh Lord, I'm so nervous about this performance. But me and one of my friends, we prayed in the back. I was like, listen, God, whatever you do, just use me, whatever it is, and of course I wasn't singing gospel songs at all. It was like soul and R&B and neo soul, maybe some old school classics songs cover that I kind of did my way. And when I tell you, I felt God in that place. Like I had to tap out, because back then when my anxiety was like through the roof, I had to tap out. I blacked out, literally black out. And I sometimes don't even remember until I watch the video of it. And I'm like, wow, guy, you really were there. And even crazier, I felt this prophetic voice. Like I felt the voice of God, like showing me, revealing to me people. Like, and there was things that I would say to them, like, hey, like just encouraging words. And I never really did that before. And I was just like, okay, God, this is crazy, because I felt like it was an altar call, but it was literally at the club at Sugar Hill, yeah.
Wow, I love it.
I was like, God, okay, this is mind blowing. Help me understand, God, help me understand. And so later, he clarified more and more, like why I have your foundation, God, and then you are supposed to be being a light in darkness in the world.
See, yes, that's 100% what I think a lot of us in the industry, and I should say industry, those of us who are called, right, who call to the industry. Let me say it like that. I think that's a better way to say it. Those of us who are called to the industry, called to the masses, called to the mainstream, called to be a light in dark places. I love what Trent. We just talked about the fact that we got to meet even and talk a first interview at Trent's conference where I launched God and Gigs all those years ago. And I remember Trent put it in the book. He said to know where you're planted, that if you're planted in the house to be only or strictly or reserved, right, to the ministry, then do that. But if you are called out, then do that. Like you said, I love the obedience and the humility that you said, that eventually it was like, yeah, God, if you called me to be on stages with Snarky Puppy and Little John Roberts, if you called me to be behind India.Aire, if you called me, like, your humility sounds almost like what I was about to pivot to this. I just realized I did it without even thinking. All right. People are seeking those positions where you get to sing in these big stages and you're on YouTube and you got millions of views, right? Some people are seeking that. It sounds like you were almost seeking not to, or at least it wasn't a goal. Like, tell me whether that.
It was not. I had no idea it was gonna. I had no idea. I just knew I loved music. I knew I could sit and listen to it for hours in my head, in my own little world, get lost in my own little safe place. I had no idea the magnitude to which being a vessel would play a part. I had no idea the magnitude to which my purpose, my God, my God centered, my God connection. I had no idea how much it would play a part into what I was supposed to be doing. Because like I said, when I went to college for a couple years before, I was like, may not be for me right now. My focus was just all over the place, child. That was a very similar time back then. Back before I was trying to figure it out, I went to school for early childhood education. I was interested in teaching kids. I was even going to do some Spanish education type things. I remember I switched majors right in the middle. And then I lost a little focus, got overwhelmed. And I just kind of was like, I don't know, guys. I kind of just stopped trying, basically, because I got very much overwhelmed in my own little world. But in that being overwhelmed, that is very strategic, because even in that, I was like, I'm just going to get a 9 to 5. I'm going to figure out my life, figure this thing out. I started working at this call center. It was like a telemarketing call center for like some MCI or somebody back in the day.
MCI. Yes. You took me back. Okay.
Anyway, so I was trying to figure it out, and Ametria, the lady who cultivated me at church, we're gonna call her Mimi for now, because that's what we call her. So she had already had a gig singing background for India. And so, because she was my big sister, she came to me and she was like, yo, there's an opportunity to sing background for her for maybe like a month, because one of the guys was taking a break and doing a play. Yeah. So they were like, you want to come sing for like a month? And at that time, I think I was trying to figure out if I was going to do school, if I was going to do work. So that was the first time. And I was like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out my life. I don't know. So then a second time she comes back with the same opportunity. Hey, this is happening again. We could really use your help because all I got to do is say, hey, I got my girl Chantae. I'm gonna get her straight. I'm gonna teach her all the songs. I'm gonna make sure she's great, because I was already a protege of Mimi. I was already a student of her. So we were like that. And so it was nothing for her to just come in and prepare me, which she did. And so at that time, I was like, okay, this is coming back around again. I cannot pass up on this opportunity. So I took it and I said, count me in. I was scared as all get out, like, but Mimi made sure I was ready as I could possibly be. And yeah, I was supposed to fill in for a month and they never asked me to leave.
Look at that. Look at God. Wow.
Well,
I'm still stunned that you said no to what
honey.
people are like. Again, like you said no. You're like, nah, amazing opportunity, no thanks.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like who does that? But I think the beautiful thing
Yeah.
though, the beautiful thing about it is like you said that if you're seeking the right things for the right reasons, right? You're
Yep.
seeking, like you
Yeah.
said, you were going through that. I went through the same season. I didn't gig. I know we're probably right off the rails, but we'll get back there somehow. I didn't gig for about 8 years, 9, 10 years after college because I just was like, okay, I got a
Mm-hmm.
family, like you. I
Yeah.
was like, church, church,
Yep.
church, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. So Jesus don't want me to play no love songs. And it wasn't until again I got to that kind of like crossroads. It was like, wait, am I doing? Am I making myself small or keeping myself here because God said so or because I said
Right.
so?
Yeah. Hello.
Right? And it's
'Cause that's two
like,
different people.
yeah, it's totally two different voices. Like this is my will, his will. Like, and then it's like, yeah, they're the same. Like, no, I'm making mine sound like his, right?
Wow.
And so that's where I hear you say like, okay, you were humble about it, but at the same time, like, I mean, Mimi's like, hey, please, like you're literally holding out on them.
Please.
Hilarious.
Please.
Like they were begging you to
Welcome.
sing
We
like
welcome
this.
you.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. So okay, so now we do
I'm
have
not,
to.
I didn't even have to audition for her.
That's
I
wide
sung for the
open door.
music director on the phone. He was like, "Oh yeah, we good. We know she good because you said she good, but we just want to make sure." So sung for the music director on the phone, and I was like, "Oh God." It was all right. Pack your bags, headed to Chicago. That was one of the first shows in. Yes, I don't want to date myself, but I don't care because
Nah, but
I'm
come on,
grown.
we're
So yeah, in '06 was my first show with her.
wow, wow. And all these years later, and that's where I did want to pivot because I was going to ask this question. I think I think it does need to be asked.
Yeah.
What were the biggest lessons once you got in the professional realms? What was the thing? Because someone's listening right now, right? Someone that's going to be signing up for coaching, someone that wants you to be their Mimi, right?
Mm.
Like someone's going to ask you the same question, or they're listening right now or watching right now. They're going to say like, okay, so what did you find out that they need to know? Like once you entered
Mm.
that world.
Okay. So my main thing was um there was a time when, like you said, when I was doing open mic nights and I was just singing. And this is kind of when YouTube was like first popping off. So I was not saying, hey, everybody, look at me, I can sing.
Mm-hmm.
I was just in my element and people noticed me in my element. And because I was rehearsed in my element, or because I was comfortable in my elements, so to
Mm,
speak,
yeah.
it's almost like you can really see that. Like when I'm not in the element, I'm not comfortable at all. But when I'm in that thing, I'm just like, yeah, it's something else, man. And then when I was kind of exposed to these other musicians who pulled those things out of me, it was like a vocal conversation. It was a musical conversation, a conversation happening right in front of me in that very moment. Like whether it's impromptu, whether it was a cover, whether it was rehearsed. Like there's always some those very special moments that really, really made me listen to all the instruments, like every single solitary instrument and the rhythm section. Like I'm listening to it all. So all of those I'm following somewhere along the way. I may not be able to articulate it through just my voice, but I'm feeling what the drum is doing. I'm listening to what the keys is doing. I'm feeling the bass, and I'm reiterating like a call and response almost. So it's like this magical moment that can only be created when you have those like-minded people in those circles, and you have the freedom to where you don't have to worry about, oh, if I do this, is he gonna catch me, or do I have to play it safe? So those musicians that are safe and intuitive and learning and want to not overshadow anybody or take over. The takeover spirit is overdone. You know what I'm saying? We have a million of those, especially in today's society, child. So I would just say knowing your strength, knowing what makes you comfortable, and people will discover you. They will find you. They will, when you perfect your craft, they will find you. You know what I'm saying? Ooh. You can be your own business card. And yes, it's good to be professional, have all the things, have all your ducks in a row, but don't rely on let me shine a light on me right quick. You know what I'm saying? Because if I don't, I won't get seen. And so that's kind of like it's comes from a place of insecurity, and people are not really going to want to deal with that because it will show through what you're doing. So I will say, just get solid in who you are, get solid in your why. Why are you doing these things? Why, like, what is your message to people? What do you want people to gain from your craft and in the way that you're, speaking to them? So I would say figure out those things as early as possible, and then you can build from it.
I'm stuck on what you just said about perfecting your craft. That's your business card. I'm still stuck on that. I know they can rewind, but I would just like say, like, rewind, like the poets.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Look, that is so powerful, because I think we do. And again, I'm the same way with my, people in our community that we're helping. I do say, hey, you got to get your website together. You got to be able to like show up and show up on time and be professional and wear the right stuff and know the songs. But there's so much more about being comfortable in yourself. That really does. That is what I think people are looking for, not the prove yourself to me kind of spirit that you're saying, like, whether it be musicians or singers or even, media, any creative side, where you're like trying to prove yourself through your art. People can see right through that. Like, they can see that you're not really comfortable. And then you, like you said, like they, it's like, where is it? The people that are needy,
like, and then you make them feel like they have to prove themselves.
That's true. It multiplies 100%.
A cancerous thing. So
comparison as 100%. Wow. Okay, so I got to take you to today. We talked a lot about how you got here. Now we got to talk about why you're here. You're here now. You've released albums. You've done your thing. Even as we're recording, you've got a performance coming up. Talk a little bit about your music now. Talk about what the Chantae Cann is doing now that you're so excited about, and like, where all this has led to.
Okay, what are we doing now? I'm so excited. I'm so glad you asked.
I know, right?
How kind of you that? Like, oh, okay, cool. So yes, I am so excited. So basically, I am working on the third studio album. Everything is recorded. It is in mixing and mastering as we speak. Very, very near the end of all the things that we are tweaking, putting all the little icing on the cake, making sure the flow is right, making sure the order is sweet. And so I plan to release, if I really, really, really want to be on the safe side and not overspeak, I will say it'll be out by the top of next year.
Okay, so 2024, if you're listening, whenever you're listening, 2024. If you're
my personal goal was to have it out before the summer. But I know Christmas is coming up, so I want to kind of be strategic about some things. So right now I'm going to go out on a limb and just say top of next year. But yeah, and also with all of that, there is a celebration concert that is happening on October 14th at Terminal West in Atlanta.
Yes, I would love, man. If I could get a plane ticket and get back by church, I would be there.
Oh, I
You
know,
know that,
right?
right? No,
Do a little dip, dip, a little
we
dip, dip. You can do
I can do a little
a
Zoom,
little
though,
Zoom audience.
get a little helicopter thing going. Anyway, but I'm so excited about this because, like I said, the times we had a chance to perform together, the fact that
Yes.
your
Yeah.
music has always really inspired me in that freedom of
Mhm.
it because I've always felt challenged. I've always felt like
Mhm.
it makes me
Wow.
want to be a better musician. And then the people who listen, like I see the Instagrams, my friend. I see the reels where people be singing "Free Your Dreams" and
Oh,
covering your stuff. Tell me
makes
a
me
little,
so
yeah, but tell me a little because I know that means a lot to you. But tell me a little bit, about because again, you're now helping other artists. So I really want to make sure artists hear this part. Like,
happy.
tell me what it is that you feel when other people are now following in your footsteps because all the work we just talked about, we just talked about all the hard work you did, the internal work, the insecurity, all that
Yep.
stuff, and it got you to the point where now you're releasing your third album. So now I want someone to say or hear from you, hey, this is why I did it because you see what the results are. Like, what are the results that you're looking at right now that make you feel most proud of what you've done?
Wow. Yes. Okay. So I would have to say, kind of piggyback off of what you brought up. And when people tag me in songs that they covered of mine or people that I collabed with, it's just so it's still surreal, even in this very moment, because listen, when I say those things are on time all the time, it's like,
Mm.
okay, God says you need another reminder of what I'm doing and why I did it and why maybe, here's another inspiration for you to stop comparing yourself, or here's another bit of inspiration for you to stop second guessing, the plan of God. And so when I'm seeing these people like cover these things, and some people like they really, really have been inspired from it vocally, I'm just like, wow, Lord, it's amazing. I feel very blessed. I feel very honored. I feel sometimes it's an out of body experience because I'm just like, wow, like I know the feeling of like I know the people that I look up to musically, and so it's like these people are looking up to me the same way I'm looking up to them, and it's like it kind of freaks me out sometimes, but more so now I am learning how to own it in my
Mm.
elevated states. I'm learning how to own it. I'm learning how to um not I'm learning how to fight the spirit of imposter syndrome, because that's still a very real thing. And so I'm just like, you know what? I just take it for what it is. I try to take a little moment and just, say a little prayer, just be thankful and grateful, and just let that continue to inspire me to keep going. And I call something like that inter inspiration, because it's like I'm inspiring them and they're inspiring me right back. So it's
Oh
like
my
this
gosh.
perpetual.
Wait, okay, wait, say that.
Oh, right now, me now.
So E with an
Ask
I.
me.
I'm so for real now. I really need to get this exactly right.
Okay.
Like E, you're saying enter as an I-N-T-E-R, enter
Yep,
inspiration. That's what you're calling it,
inter
right?
inspiration.
Please tell me that you've already like trademarked that.
I haven't. I've used that phrase, but I have not trademarked it yet. Maybe I should.
You should 100% because my
Okay.
Lord, I want to steal it right now, but I'll give you credit. I will definitely give you
That's
credit
that's
because
going in my book.
that's an oh, come on, author. See, look,
Come on,
exclusive,
you inspired me too. You inspired me too now.
exclusive. Come on now. All
Oh
right. So
yeah. Oh
I am.
yes.
It's such a great way to explain it, though. Like I've never heard that. I'm telling you,
Uh,
in all the books, all these books behind me, I've never heard anybody explain what's happening the way you just explained it.
and let me tell you what kind of inspired that phrase. One of my dear good pastor friends, Daryl Ford, he used to be the pastor of Icon Community Church, which I used to attend back in the day when it was around. And his daughter is so sweet. I love her so much. Her name is Audrey Ford. I got a shout out to her. She's, in her teenagers now, but back in the day, I remember Daryl sent me a picture. Now, granted, we kind of look alike. Like she looks like she could be my sister or like my child. So he sent me a picture of her when she was 4 years old watching a video of me, and it was almost as if she saw herself in me. And when he sent me that picture, I'm looking at her, looking at me, looking at me. So I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. It was really, really insane. I was just like, wow, this is the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Like, thank you so much for sharing this with me. And it just, yeah, it means the world, man. It means the world.
Oh gosh, it's been too beautiful. My friend, look, your very name means song. And so
hello, lights. You better do your research. You better know it.
I bet. So I know that everything that you're doing, God already ordained that to be that inspiration, right? Where so many verses come. I don't want to preach right now, but like spur each other on to good works, right? That's 100% like what you're talking about. Like we are helping each other. Like that's how we all are coming together what God was brought us to do. So I got to finish this off. You know, we could talk all day. We're probably going to talk all day after we turn this mic off, but
yes, let's do it.
But I need to make sure that we leave them wanting more. So I want to ask you this one question. I love to hear this. I can't wait to hear how you answer this question. I want to take you back because somebody is where you were. Somebody is that shy girl, either in church trying to figure out her voice, or she's hiding in the pantry right before she comes out to sing. Somebody is where you were. So what would you tell yourself now that you know what you know? What would you tell your younger self? Someone else needs to hear that.
I'm going to say, do it scared, do it afraid. These moments are literally about your own training ground. And once you do it over and over and over again, they're going to become less scary and less scary and less scary. And this is literally just the beginning of where you will blossom into. And so if you can conquer this right now, if you can face your fears and say, hey, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. I just believe that that's going to be a very, very powerful place for you to be in the long run. And that way it'll be less scary and less scary and less scary sooner, so that you don't have to spend years and years and years in debilitating darkness. You don't have to spend years and years and years in the insecurities of your mind and in the ruminations. You don't have to do that because you already have what is inside of you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That inspired me right there. Okay. Come on, my sister.
I can go on and on and on.
Yeah, you can right there. Yeah, we're gonna drop the mic for now and let them come back later. And by the way, if they want to come back, if they want to hear more from you, if they want to buy a ticket to the next show that's coming to their city, right? Or they want to make sure to connect with you, if they're a singer, musician, or artist who wants to learn from you, like tell them how they can reach you so that they can get more of this goodness from you.
Okay, so there's a couple different ways depending on what boat you're in. You may be in a couple, and that's fine. So if you want to get tickets to the show, or just follow about like what I'm doing in the future, follow the tour schedule and things like that, you can go to chantaecann.com. That's ChantaeCann.com, and there's all the tour information. There is merch on there. But if you just want to follow music or download some of my albums, you can go to wherever digital music is: Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, or do people say iTunes? Apple Music, sorry. I don't want to be blaspheming on here. Yeah, so you can stay connected that way. And of course, I'm on all forms of social media. You can find me at Chantae Cann, ChantaeCann. If you want to be a part of the coaching group that I have, you can send an email to info@chantaecann.com, and we'll get back to you if you're interested in learning about creative coaching or vocal lessons or industry insight, any of those categories. You can send an email to info@chantaecann.com.
And those links are right in the app that you're using right now. You should be smashing those buttons to make sure that you find her everywhere she is. I am, once again, just a better person because I get to call Chantae my friend and my sister in the Lord. So I know you're going to be better off when you get connected to her. Chantae, like, again, we're not going to make this the last time. We're not going to wait another 7 years this time. Promise. Pinky swear, okay? You're not going to make anyone wait that long before we get together again. But for now, God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much for being on the God and Gig Show. Can't wait till we do it again.
Thank you for having me. Love you.
My friend, thank you for watching this episode. If that blessed you, you got to make sure that you stay connected with this community and this channel so that you can get more where that came from. We're sharing great interviews, tactics, strategies, mindsets, lifestyle choices, everything that's going to help you become a totally confident creative. And don't miss an episode of the God and Gig Show. If you are staying connected to our channel, you'll be able to find us anytime we release new episodes. And you can check out some of our archives of almost 200 episodes now that we've shared over the last few years. Make sure you check out one of the suggestions right now, because it's probably perfect for you to continue to develop as a creative. And continue to stay connected with us, because we're here to help you become the creative that God created you to be. We'll see you in the next episode.